Well, October is here, and for many of us in the art community, that means Inktober is here, or an equivalent drawing challenge. In this video, I'll be going over the pros and cons of participating in such a challenge, as well as some of the supplies you might want to look at, and some alternatives as well, so stay tuned. I participated in Inktober the traditional way over the last 2 years, and I'll just be flipping through those sketches so you can see them while I talk about a few other things. Here we go. So this is my 2018, we're starting with that one, and I'm not going to talk about the sketches, just flip through them. Anyway, there is some major controversy right now with Inktober, and I'm not going to get into that. It is not my business, and I don't know any of the specific details. I just know that in the beginning, I was a little bit on the fence about participating in Inktober anyway, and then when the controversy and drama came up, I kind of just lost my steam for it altogether. But that doesn't mean I don't have some good information for you, because I did do it for 2 years, and I do have a plan for this October. It's just going to be not the traditional Inktober, it will be just slightly modified. There are some alternatives to Inktober if you don't want to participate in the official Inktober because of the drama. There's Drawtober, Drawlloween, Gawki, Cattober, and then there was a video I saw that said something about Birdtober, and I don't know the details of that, but that one looked kind of intriguing too if you're into more scary or gory things, so definitely look into that. I like the idea of the Cattober one, something just sweet and innocent, I assume. Anyway, you can see in a few of these, because I am mostly a painter, that I needed some color in my life once in a while. I would go crazy without color. So the official challenge has you just do black and white with inking. The whole idea is to practice and improve your inking skills. So you make a nice drawing and then you work on inking skills. So shading, hatching, line thickness, things like that is the idea of the official Inktober. However, I think that it's a great spin-off just to do any sort of art for 30 days. So a lot of people do watercolor for 30 days, and I'm not going to do that this year because I just finished up World Watercolor Month in July. So kind of did that, but I will explain what I'll do. You can see I worked in a sketchbook. This is the Stillman and Byrne sketchbook, and there was, I think, 20 pages left over when I was done with 2018. And so what I did, I bought the exact same sketchbook for the next year and took 10 or 11 additional pages out of it and just inserted them into this sketchbook. So this is actually holding, we're starting here on 2019, my 2018 and my 2019 Inktober sketches. And I'd still like to decorate the front and make that something worthwhile, but it was nice to have them all in one place. There are definitely some cons to working in a sketchbook, however, so I will go through those when I can show you a little bit more detail there. So you can see some of these are really much simpler, didn't have a lot of time one day or something like that. Some are a lot more detailed. You have good ones, you have bad ones, and this is where I'm like, I have to have color again. It's time. So this is Copic marker, so it's technically alcohol ink, so it has the word ink, that counts, right? But I really had fun using fountain pens, different kinds of liners and markers to try and get all of these going. It was a really great challenge for that. So there are definitely reasons to still participate in a challenge like this, because it really can improve your drawing skills. You get really familiar with your supplies, like a lot of the same reasons as World Watercolor Month. Now this looks like a painting, but it is a painting, but I did it with ink, like fountain pen ink. So I needed different shades of gray, was ready to paint again because I can't handle not painting that long, and did this one. It's one of my favorites. Don't like that one. So probably talked about this a little too long, but hopefully you're still with me. That again is ink. You can see here I did a theme through it. 2018 the theme was motorcycles, and in 2019 the theme was classic vehicles. And that really helps me get motivated to do that. It's themes that I love. And that is it. And this is the Stillman and Byrne Epsilon series that I tore 2 apart and made a thick one. And if you want details of that, you can watch the video from last year. Let's get into pros and cons. And we are going to start with the challenges. They're cons, but I like to call them challenges because whatever. So working in a sketchbook is actually a challenge because when you're working on a page, you either have the binding here or you're on this side and it's raised up from the desk. So you're trying to get in a lot of detail, but it's too far from the desk to where you're working. So you can try and take your paper and flatten it like that and work on it. But if you are trying to work on that side, you still have the same problem. It's far away. So think about that. I know they make some sketchbooks now where you can pull the sheets out and work on them and then stick them back in pretty easily. I don't have one, but those are pretty cool. So you might check into those if you really want to use a sketchbook. Otherwise, I would kind of suggest maybe doing individual sheets that you could put into some kind of book later, because it's so much easier when your hand is just right here and flat and you're able to work on all edges with nothing in the way of your hand. So keep that in mind. I would recommend that. Another challenge with this kind of drawing challenge, in my opinion, is that you don't step away from your work and come back to it. Because you're on a deadline and you have to do something every single day, you pretty well, in my opinion, do it all in one sitting, or you know that it has to be done that day. You can't walk away and come back the next day, for example, and work on it because you have another drawing that next day. So things like this happen where when you're working on it, oh, these tires, they look great, and then you step back the next day and you're like, what happened? Like, this tire is way too far to the outside. It's not even really shaped right from our viewpoint, and it's not that easy to fix either with ink, but it just lives as a lesson for you for the next year. Another challenge is if you fall behind. If you're like me, you don't just want to skip those missed prompts. You want to get them done. So in October of last year, I had 3 days at a race in the beginning of October, 2 days in Grand Junction, 4 days of jury duty, appointments with the doctor for my grandma that were in Denver and other places, unexpected medical stuff with my dad, and it was challenging. So I ended up wanting to catch up and not just skip those days. So that's when you end up with quicker drawings like this, and there was the one of this kid in the swing, which I showed you already. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's nice just to sketch something fast and be done. But when you have something cool like this that you can be proud of, I think that that's way more enjoyable. But a lot of people are okay with skipping days. I just am not one of them, so I want to get them all in there and get them all done. And that's really hard because, you know, life. We all have it. We all have to deal with it. So one of the next things that I've already talked about is you get frustrated with your supplies. I kind of got out of that frustration every once in a while by painting with ink. And then in that one truck, I did use the alcohol marker for coloring, which you saw already. Is that cheating? Is it not? I mean, that's up to you in your own mind. But I need color once in a while, or some kind of painting at least. Just dealing with pens and pencils or fountain pens does get a little frustrating. It's because you're doing it every single day for 31 days. All right, lastly is the time commitment. It takes so much time to do all of this. Even your quick drawings are still probably going to take an hour, unless you're doing something really quick that you're really familiar with. I'm sure you could probably get it out in 20 minutes or so, but that's not my experience. My experience is that it takes 1 to 3 hours minimum to do each of these drawings. So you have to consider that. Now for the fun part, let's talk about the pros. You get really familiar with your supplies. This is basically my Inktober bag, and I keep just adding any liners that I get in subscription boxes in it. So if I were to be doing Inktober officially again this year, I would definitely pare this down to my main supplies, and they're actually the exact same supplies in last year's video, so check that out. But it's basically some really reliable liners in a few different sizes. This year, all of this would just go away. I might pull in one more liner after a bit, and I would be left with these. Maybe a Sharpie. This would be a new addition, just to fill in the lot of black spaces. A couple different shades of gray, and I would pull out a few more grays from my Copic set, maybe one lighter, because these are actually pretty dark still, even though it shows up light. Prismacolor has just a really good fill, if you know what I mean. You need a couple of different brush pens, in my opinion, brush markers, because it's nice to get really thick lines sometimes, and they can also do thin lines if you need them to. I like some kind of liner in a 02. That's about as small as I like. Once in a while I'll step down to a smaller size. A 05 and a 08. I use the 08 surprisingly a lot. I want thicker lines often without having an actual brush pen, so that's nice. And then definitely something for white highlights, and you know, these don't always work perfectly, but you have that option, or Posca markers, and then some kind of regular eraser is really nice. And then I have misplaced it, but definitely a kneaded eraser. Also, because you're working with the same supplies all the time and you get bored, definitely shake it up a bit. Grab your fountain pens if you have one. If you don't have one, don't worry. If all you have is a black ballpoint pen, use that. But fountain pen can be really fun to try, as well as inks. And a lot of people consider these Marabou graphics inks as allowable in Inktober. There's also acrylic ink that people like to use, and I just got these. This is watercolor ink. I have 4 colors of these, and I just received those in an art subscription box, so I will link that up in the corner for you. People consider anything with ink to be allowable in the challenge, and if you're doing your own kind of challenge in your own manner, then there are no rules. I think, me personally, the idea is to just do some sort of art every single day, because you get better and better at it. You are going to get tired of your supplies if you're only using one pen, so keep that in mind. You also learn a lot of new techniques. For example, this one, this is the picture I took on vacation. This one is done with stippling, and I basically think this was a 0.5 micron and just dotting. Lots of dotting, and it looks darker in places because there are more dots. So that's a technique I hadn't tried before. You're also going to learn shading techniques with just a pen, so that's kind of neat. Thicker, more close together lines make things look darker, just like the stippling. More dots, the darker it is. The closer the lines here, the darker it looks. You know, as well as filling in areas and creating different kinds of shapes. Like this rock just has some cross-hatching on it, and it gives it a little bit of texture without much detail, and I think that's kind of neat. So you definitely learn really cool techniques, more than even what I've shown you. It also might bring you even more work. When people out there see you create this, because you are posting this on Instagram most likely, at least if you're participating in the official challenge, people are going to see your work and they're going to be like, hey, can you do this or that for me? I personally got 4 commission offers after Inktober last year, and I took on one of them, and I decided that commissions are definitely not for me. They're very stressful, and we can talk about that in a different kind of video, but don't want it. But if you like commissions, this is a great way to get people to notice your artwork. Also, another pro is that you might make some really cool art. So I'm flipping through here trying to find some of my favorites for showing you how you might make some really cool art. And there's so many that I like. And I never in my life would have created these if it hadn't been for this kind of drawing challenge. But yeah, you're going to end up with work that you're really proud of or you really like. And you would not have just gone and done that any other time. So you've seen this one in one of my previous videos. I'll link that as well. But see, things like this, they're just so fun. You know, I never would have done stippling without it. I love this one. I love the one that is dark. This one, probably because they're painting, but I wouldn't have had these otherwise. And that is just super awesome. Last but not least, I think that doing a drawing challenge like this could spark some really awesome ideas for things for you to do with full color later. So some of these pieces that I've shown you, I've copied and I've painted. Some I may redraw and paint, and I just get really great ideas from them and just get inspired. So you might be wondering what my plans are this year, since I did tell you I am not doing the official Inktober thing. Well, life is crazy right now, and I don't want to get stressed out because I've always wanted to participate in Huevember, and by the time Inktober was over, I'm like, no way, not another 30-day challenge back to back. So I might try to participate in Huevember, but I am going to still do something cool in October, and I have dubbed it, it's a little hard to say, Productober. Productober. Productivober. I think I like that better. So my idea here is every day that I am actually physically at home in my house, because you guys know if you've been around, I do travel a lot. And then we've had some mishaps this last week. But anyway, every day that I'm physically home, I will do something related to art. It does not mean I have to create a massive art piece or a little art piece or even a sketch, but it needs to be something that will further my art in some way. So, for example, I have a painting of my golden retriever that I did. Well, I finally received the picture frame and mat for it, but I haven't framed and matted it. So things like that. I want to get that finished. Some of my other work I might want to get finished. Maybe I'll start scanning some of my work and open a Redbubble shop or something like that. I also have a ton of painting ideas, a few drawing ideas. I have art subscription boxes I know that are coming in. I probably still have 25 old art subscription boxes right under my desk there that I need to get to. So every single day that I'm home, I'm going to work on that. The exception is I am not going to pressure myself to do that on the weekends if we actually happen to be home on a weekend, which is rare. But so every work day, I guess, every Monday through Friday day that I'm physically home, I'll have to be doing something new. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great challenge. It's going to get me, I don't know, motivated to get a lot done here, maybe some back projects. But if you want to watch that journey, subscribe down below and make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. And I will see you in the next video. There are some bloopers at the end here because I just can't record live and do it right. Not the first time. All right. Take care. Goodbye. So, am I going to have to take all the boxes away from you? I'm going to have to take all the boxes. So, now I've lost my train of thought. Last but not least, I think that it marks and that's the last pro. Oh, my plans for Inktober. Right. Ow! Where I'm not doing a 30-day challenge officially, not even a 31-day challenge. That was backwards. All right, I feel like I could have done a better job in this video, but I had to bring my dog to the vet for surgery again this morning, so it is what it is.